Hi, everybody. Welcome to our DAT IQ Weekly Market Update. This is our update for December the 2nd. Hasn't that flown by quickly? We're already into December. It's episode 364. I'm Dean Croak, market analyst here at DAT. Special guest today, Courtney George from Wreaths Across America. Courtney, great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, been guests on a couple of shows with you. Mostly with Jimmy Mack. Wreaths Across America has been on the show. I think both times were at Mid-America, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah.
Absolutely. You and I have gotten the opportunity to sit next to each other a couple times as we do those.
And this has been deliberate. We wanted you on the show here this week because this is the lead up to the start of Wreaths Across America in Columbia Falls, and also leading into the laying of the wreaths in Arlington, which is my very first time. So we deliberately wanted you on the show. So appreciate you being on the show during probably the busiest time of your year. So for those that don't know you and Wreaths Across America, tell us a bit about what you do and Wreaths Across America.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Courtney George. I'm the Director of Transportation and Industry Relations for Wreaths Across America. It's a pretty fancy title for the person that handles trucking and working with carriers and owner-operators to get loads delivered on time, and most importantly, get the wreaths to all 5,500 plus locations that we will be participating at this year.
5,500 locations.
Yeah.
Can't wait to ask you some questions about that because I'm a real logistics nerd. So I want to know about how many drops and stops and all that stuff. So we'll get into that a bit later, but that's amazing. Yeah. How long have you been involved with Wreaths?
So I would say at this point it's about 10 years that I've been involved. I was a volunteer for many years, about 7+ years, kind of a core volunteer helping out in New York in the Long Island market. And then came on board with Wreaths 3 years ago.
Right.
So it's been definitely a labor of love and passion for me.
Right.
And it gave me the opportunity to really take two areas that I love, which is trucking and transportation, which is where, I worked in prior to coming on board here, and then taking my love for our veterans in this country and just wonderful nation, and being able to work those two in together to a job has just been outstanding.
Yeah, I don't know another country that does it as well as America does in terms of veterans and trucking. Where I'm from in Australia, we do a lot with our Anzac veterans through both world wars, and a little bit with the Vietnam War to a degree, but nowhere is it done as much as it's done here in the United States between the military and trucking. So we'll bring you back in short market update this week because it was a short trucking week, which is good. That gives us more time to talk about what's happening with Wreaths Across America. So Courtney, we'll bring you back in a few minutes. A couple of trends we're watching in the trucking market. Spot rates exhibited some Thanksgiving volatility last week. No big surprise there, folks. Dry van did take off a little bit more than refrigerated. That was a little bit unusual. Van rates rose more than reefer last week in the lead up to Thanksgiving. It's normally the other way around. A little bit of tightness in California. There's some activity going on with the Department of Homeland Security with some audits of some of the NorCal carriers up there. So that could have something to do with it. We'll watch that a little bit more carefully as we get back into 5-day shipping weeks next week. Produce volumes up last week. Again, no surprise there in the lead up to Thanksgiving, up about 6% last week, on par with about where we'd expect to see truckload produce volumes year over year, according to the USDA. Although the California produce powerhouse is behind about 16% year over year. That's a little bit more concerning. They are the number one state. The number two state's Washington State. They're ahead 12%. So that kind of balances out a little bit. Idaho's up slightly also. The Mexico season is starting to ramp up, although those numbers are a little bit skewed because it's a bit of a catch-up week down there now that the Mexican truckers and farmers began to dismantle some of their blockades they've had in place. They've reached agreement with federal authorities after they've been blockading a lot of the border crossing zones over insecurity around cargo theft and grievances over water regulations and subsidies. So we saw some volume start to increase, particularly in Nogales last week. Reefer spot rates in the largest commercial crossing zones, such as Far, Texas, increased about 5 cents per mile last week. Interestingly, on the lane that runs from Far, Texas, which is the highest produce crossing lane between Mexico and the US. That's down in the McAllen freight zone and southern Texas. On the lane that runs from McAllen to Los Angeles, rates are up about 30 cents a mile year over year. They peaked at about on November the 7th. They're off a little bit since then, but that's the lane that's been impacted the most because of ICE enforcement, mainly on carriers that come out of California that run across to Texas and go back to Los Angeles. They've been very reluctant to leave California and run over to Texas to go back to Los Angeles. As a result of that enforcement activity that's ongoing and making headlines, those rates on that backhaul lane for refrigerated carriers are still very high compared to last year. That's been going on for about 8 weeks and not showing much sign of falling away, although they're a little bit of on a downslide at the moment, but still 30 cents a mile higher year over year. The American Trucking Association's tonnage index registered a significant monthly decline in October, marking the most substantial drop in nearly 2 years. Tonnage fell 2.1% in October. That was the largest single month decline since January 2024. And just out this morning, November's for-hire authority revocations, according to the FMCSA, totaled about 6,893 carriers that left the industry. That was 4% fewer than last month, but about 3% more than this time last year. So there were also about 12% fewer carriers joined the market. Just to put all that into context, the 12-month average of carriers joining the industry is about 6,300. The 12-month average carriers leaving the industry is about 6,900. So the leakage out of the industry is very, very slow. We're only losing, on average, each month, about 400 more carriers leave than join. So we're not seeing a massive exodus of carriers. All right, so that's the key points that we're watching. Let's have a quick look at what's happening in the rate side of the market. Spot rates up 7 cents a mile last week. Again, no surprise. They always do take off in that short 3-day week. Spot rates settled last week at about $1.75, up 7 cents. It's about 5 cents a mile higher than last year. Top 50 lanes up 5 cents to $2.02. Remember, these are excluding the fuel surcharge. Up at 202 for the top 50 based on volume. And in our bellwether states, they ended the week up 6 cents to $1.97. In the refrigerated market, national 7-day rolling average was up to $2.13, up 5 cents. That's about 3% higher than last year. And lastly, in flatbed, they were flat for the third consecutive week at $2.01. That's about 3 cents a mile higher than last year. And lastly, before we bring Courtney back in, let's have a quick look at our 35-day forecast. You'll see a lot of model agreement across our 3 equipment types this week. But this is the first time you'll be seeing ratecast going past New Year. So these are going out to January the 2nd. And you'll see a lot of consistency here across the high, low, and ratecast. The high ratecast scenario is in gold or yellow, and the red is the low case scenario. The green, of course, is the ratecast 35-day, and the blue is the historical 35-day, the historical 7-day rolling average. All right, so let's start off with dry van. Ratecast is expecting rates up 12 cents a mile out to January 2, settling at $1.86. Assuming that's the case just after New Year, rates will be about 5 cents a mile higher than where they were last year. Low case scenario in red still has rates up 6. High case has rates up 19. So I think you'll see pretty strong agreement there. The rate we're going with some of the enforcement activity in some of the regional areas, there's a strong case that I think the upper case scenario might be realistic given where we're heading into the new year. More so probably in refrigerated case. You can see a real hockey stick effect happening here. Ratecasts expect rates up 15 cents a mile. They are going to drop off in the next 7 to 10 days, as they always do towards the end of next week, before they pick up in that final week leading up to Christmas and then into New Year, where capacity will tighten significantly between Christmas and New Year. And then, of course, depending on how cold it gets, when shippers switch dry van freight over to reefer with Protect from Freeze on the bills of lading, that high case scenario could get even higher. But rates are expected to be about $2.27 by the time we get to January 2nd. That'll be 7 cents a mile higher than where they were this time last year. I think that high case scenario of rates up, I think it's got rates up substantially. I think up to about $2.35. That could be a real scenario that you should watch. And in flatbed, rates up 11 cents to $2.12. That will be about 12 cents a mile higher than where they were last year. But again, that trend is pretty much on track seasonally. We do expect flatbed rates to continue that upward trend all the way through to May, as they do seasonally each year. All right, so that's the end of our rate forecast for this week. Let's bring Courtney back in. Courtney, question of the week. How many truckloads of REITs will you dispatch this year from Northern Maine?
We're going to dispatch right about 800 loads.
800.
And that is between intermodal as well as regular just trucking loads. We'll dispatch roughly 800, give or take. And this is a feat that is... Y'all, it's so amazing because there are over 400 carriers that are involved to make this happen.
So intermodal, now that's something I didn't know. You've got trains. So where are you loading the trains? Where's the ramp, the nearest ramp to
Boston?
Oh, okay. Worcester.
So JB Hunt picks them up here, gets them down to Boston, and then they go on, well, right outside of Boston. They'll go intermodally out to the West Coast. I've got several cross docks out there. I've got 3 in Phoenix, one in San Jose, one in Lakewood, Washington, and all of those reads for them are delivered intermodally. It was a change that we made as an organization as we watched. When I got into trucking, I used to have drivers that would tell me, in Georgia, if the load's not, 2,000 miles, I don't want it. Right. And now that's, trucking has definitely changed over the years, where drivers don't want that same length of haul. So we kind of have made some changes to what we do to get that to happen.
So I think the ramp is actually in Worcester, Matt.
Yes.
Isn't that the same name?
I was going to say, it is in Worcester. It's kind of... I was going to say near where the stop is going to be at Polar Park.
It is. It's the same place where we'll be on Tuesday next week. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay, good. So, and then so roughly what's the split between intermodal and truck?
I mean, it's intermodal is less than a tenth of what we do.
Okay.
It'll be about 48 to 50 loads.
Okay.
From the intermodal side. Everything else is going to be all regular, van.
Right. So you're compressing 5,500 loads into what time frame?
So 5,500 locations will all be delivered within a 2-week time period.
2 weeks. Wow. Okay. So it's 800 loads. But that's starting 2 weeks. That would have been, so last week you would have been starting.
Yes. Okay. We started some last week. Rees for like Guam or Hawaii had also left earlier. Right. Obviously, we have to put them on a ship. Yep. But for the most part, we are so lucky to have so many partners that are willing to make this happen. Right. Which is great and one of the coolest things in the world.
Right. This is fascinating. So I can't help but think that some of those small towns that we're going to drive through this week must be inundated with truck traffic.
They are. They really are. Anybody who's familiar, if you haven't been to Dysart's in Bangor, fuel up there on your way in. Dysart's has got a great restaurant there. It's just an old school, old timey truck stop.
Right.
where everyone is great, knows your name. We joked on my way down east, we stopped and actually got a loaf of fresh bread that they had cooked. But there's so many small towns, and if you're located in the Northeast and you're looking at trucks that are coming through, please, please, please look. If they've got a wreath on the front of them, they're delivering and hauling a load of wreaths. So know that driver is going somewhere very intentional and very important. And most of the time, they're stopping anywhere between 8 to 12 stops on a load.
Okay, 8 to 12 drops. Okay, that's very interesting. I was wondering about that. Okay. So, and what would be the average lengths of haul then for those loads?
Oh, Dean, that's a great question. I don't have the answer for you on.
Okay.
Because it just depends. I've got loads that are here and go out to Denver. I've got loads that are, from Maine and go all the way out to like Laredo, Texas. So there are some that are short. There are some that are a little bit longer. I'd still say we're under 1,000 miles on average.
Okay.
Right. We do have some cross docks in Greensboro, North Carolina, Richland, Mississippi. My largest cross dock is in St. Louis because, St. Louis, 75% of the country's freight is within a 1 day radius of there.
Right.
So we work through some of those things, but it is really just something that's really cool to see an industry get behind and make it happen.
Yeah. When you say cross-dock, you're talking about a facility where a carrier has donated their cross-dock facility?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because all of these trailers and trucks and drivers have been donated services.
Yes. So all of this is all donated, and we can't do what we do without, these facilities that donate their, docks, their employees. Same thing with trucking companies or truck drivers that are donating their time, fuel, all of that. It can't happen without them.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. What people don't get on the back end is how much planning goes into this.
Yeah.
And that is what I think is probably the coolest part about what we do, or at least to me, the most fulfilling aspect is watching and knowing that all these wreaths got delivered, and how many families were impacted. That's huge, and it all happens because of transportation industry.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned some mileage there. What folks don't realize is that you're in what we'd call a backhaul market. And to get to where you are, there's probably a 300-mile deadhead. And then you've got a head haul of about maybe 1,000 miles. So there's 1,300 miles of donated services before you start adding in all of your fixed costs. So from a carrier perspective, this is a massive commitment just to put a truck underneath that load. This is incredible.
It is. We had a gentleman that came yesterday that's hauling loads to a cross dock. And he had delivered in North Carolina. And so to think the amount of mileage that he's doing, that's over 2,500 miles.
Yeah. I was, when I came back from the airport yesterday from vacation, I was following a truck that was one of the carriers that haul show freight. And part of me got to thinking he was from Tennessee. They do all the bands, and I wondered about whether he was heading up that way, and I thought I should ask my friend who's the CEO of that company if in fact they're heading up that way to do a load, because my son said to me when he picked me up, he said, what would they be doing up there? With what band would be on up there? And I thought there might be a show on up there where this band is going, and then I thought, I wonder, I should ask. Yeah,
I've still got loads I'm working on covering today.
Yeah, because you compete with a lot of trucks that haul fresh potatoes, French fries and potatoes.
Yeah,
there. You've got a massive competition up there.
It is definitely a competition for potatoes for sure.
Yeah,
that's a big one. That is a lot of what people normally will come up here and haul out of. But we make it happen. And we make it happen because of everyone who watches your show, right? People who know and who care and are so patriotic and, want to give back to whether they are a veteran, whether they know somebody who served, they're doing it in honor of them. There's so many opportunities. That's why I tell people, I'm like, don't count yourself out.
Yeah.
Let me help you, qualify yourself.
So, Courtney, when I was at Arlington last year, I was fascinated by the shape of the boxes. So are they hexagonal?
They're octagonal.
Octagonal. So first of all, so the wreaths they're cylindrical in shape, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the boxes hexagonal? Firstly,
to help them keep their shape and keep the round shape.
Right.
That is one thing that our manufacturer changed on the box.
Right.
About 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Was, once we were putting them previously in square boxes, and they would get out west and the wreaths would not be a circle.
Oh.
They had taken on the shape of the box, and that's, these are all live wreaths. There's a lot of science that's going in behind this. Each tree is, fertilized every year. It's a renewable resource. It's not something, we're not cutting down trees. So that box helps keep it in that 22-inch size, which is fabulous.
Yep. And then is there a temperature requirement for the transit?
So you don't require one, but if you are in a reefer, I'm going to tell you to set your reefer at 34.
Okay.
Because it is a live product. As you were delivering down south, I do tell people these shockingly put off a lot of heat. So make sure, as you take your 10, open the trailer doors.
Oh, okay. So that's
let that heat off.
Okay, it's counterintuitive. They put off heat.
You would be surprised how much heat they can actually put off. And so that's why I'm like, if you've got vents, open them. We're trying to keep them cool. That's something that's really important to the freshness. Our vendor definitely guarantees freshness. And so we want to ensure that, every wreath that we can gets there in the best shape possible.
Right. So, and the wreaths, how many wreaths are stacked in one of these hexagonal boxes?
12.
There's 12 wreaths per box. And then how many boxes will fit in a trailer?
So just a regular 53-foot van will put in 540 boxes. So 30 skids.
Right. Per trailer. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. And then when you get to Arlington, a lot of those are just manually dragged to the back of the trailer and then handled that way.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's how it's set up across the country.
Right.
The drivers are not physically unloading each box. I think that's something really important to stress, is that you as a driver are not unloading it. I'm telling you, that's when you're kind of in the management position. Right. If your bill of lading says to take 25 boxes off, I want you to count and make sure that they only took 25 boxes off.
Right.
Because I don't want you to be short or anything to that effect.
Right.
So that's why I always tell people that. We've got so many wonderful and great carriers, but I also have a lot of, drivers that even are still from that Vietnam era. And I'm like, what you're not going to do is have to unload. I need you to be able to put it in a spot where they can, but each volunteer location coordinator will have people out there to unload.
Yeah. It's a moving experience. I was talking to some of the drivers last year, and what struck me was, other than the Gold Star families that I didn't realize were in all the Chevy Tahoes that were Chevy Tahoe. Do I have that right?
Yeah, Chevy. We are very lucky for Chevy to help support us. So they're historically in Tahoes or Suburbans.
Yeah, suburban. Yeah, so I was struck by the Gold Star family connection and all of the law enforcement folks that were up front of the trucks. But then all the trucks rolled through and they were all wrapped in some sort of a military theme. And then it was specific to the driver of the truck that was donated, I guess, by the truck fleet.
Yes. So a lot of the trucks you'll see are Rite of Pride trucks.
Right.
So Schneider's truck will be a Rite of Pride, Cargo Transport's driver.
Yep.
Perry will have being one of, the Rite of Pride, Freightliners, Cascadias. Warner, same thing. Swift even has a really cool 911 related truck.
Yeah.
There are just so many carriers out there, that are, you don't realize, I mean, I even look at some companies like Decker, and their colors are red and yellow, and it's not for like the University of Iowa or Iowa State. It's literally because the gentleman who started the company was a U.S. Marine.
Right. Yeah. Met those folks. Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, there's some interesting folks. This is a really important time. So, and I think the staggering thing from, for me, is the percentage of folks that make up truck driving that come from a military background. I've always wondered about how hard it would be, because trucking's a fairly lonely occupation. I always wondered about that transition. But Sarah Lee always reminded me that it's not as hard as you think, because I always thought it would be harder coming from a military background with all of that me time, like behind the windscreen. It would make it worse. But they argue that you've got a better network of folks around you that makes it easy to make that transition from being a veteran to being a trucker, because you've got a support network of people around you. And I guess that's because of all the things that you do and Sarah Lee does, and all of the other things that folks do. So, all right. So this weekend, we'll be up there. Jimmy Mac's heading up there. I was on the radio show this morning with them. We'll be up there on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. What can we look forward to this weekend? What does it sort of paint us a picture about what's going to happen?
So this weekend is going to be a lot of fun, because the convoy will leave on Sunday morning.
Yep.
So Friday, you're going to see so many drivers that are either already there or coming in. We're ensuring that they get loaded. So I'm booked right now for over 60 trucks per day.
Right.
That are going to be getting loaded. Saturday night, we have a driver dinner. It's a great kickoff for us, and we are so excited, because there will be over 100 drivers that are there at the dinner and then leave the next morning.
Wow.
So it's something that's really a celebratory event. What I love too is that everybody that's coming in that will be on the convoy has the opportunity to truly get to meet each one another, right?
Right.
They get to see the drivers that are going to be delivering maybe into their hometown, or maybe just, somewhere that they know, or someone that their child served with that's interred there. So you've got a lot of people and groups coming together, and you can just feel and see the energy that people have. And it's just so outstanding and amazing.
Right.
To see that. So you're going to see people come together. The most positive atmosphere that there is in that driver's lounge. Yeah. And the excitement is just, it's contagious.
Yeah. As it is when you get 100 truckers in a room, anything can happen.
Yes.
As I've always said, the miles will get longer and the stories will get even wilder.
Yes. But it's great. You're going to see people welcome to the family, that this is their first time.
Right.
And people who have done it for 14, 15 years.
Yeah, it'll be crazy. Yeah. And then the Wednesday, the official convoy of the trucks heading to Arlington leave when?
It leaves Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. Okay, great. All right, good. I had a sneak preview of some of the cookies and wreaths that my wife's catering business made. Lorena, our pastry chef, made some cookies yesterday in the shape of wreaths. And I don't know how she does it, Courtney, but they look spectacular.
I promise you, we will be excited to have them.
Yeah. So, she's putting together little packages for some of the drivers with some little gift boxes for them to eat on the way. So keep them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be really good. What else can we do in terms of promotion? What can people go somewhere to learn more about this? Wreaths Across America.
Absolutely. If you want to learn more about Wreaths Across America, go to our website.
Yep.
It's www.wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Mm-hmm.
Hop on there. You can find out about a participating location. You can volunteer to go participate. You can sponsor a wreath. There's still so many options. Remember, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. So sponsor a wreath, help remember a veteran, get out there and to make sure you participate.
Yeah.
There are ways to participate even if you aren't a driver.
Yep.
Volunteer to place a wreath, sponsor a wreath. So many options. Just go to www.wreathsacrossamerica.org.
Yeah. All right, that's good. We'll get that across our DAT network. In fact, Tyson Foods, they're doing all the catering for the drivers event.
That they are.
They're one of our big customers on the DAT side. They're a shipper customer of ours. So we'll be pushing that out through our own internal network to make sure people are aware of where they can go to participate and make a contribution. Courtney, thanks for having. Thanks for being on the show. We're looking forward to meeting you up there on Thursday. I'll actually be up there Thursday morning, so we'll see you there.
Sounds perfect. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, all right, thanks. Couple of shout outs. Of course, our good friends Radio Nemo, the Road Gang Radio. Make sure you tune in 7 a.m. Central every day. You can catch them on iHeartRadio, Facebook Live, YouTube. You'll also be able to catch Jimmy Mack, Courtney, and myself and some others up in Columbia Falls, Maine later this week. Don't forget, I'll be on Logistics Live with Dan Deegan tomorrow morning. Chris Kaplis on the Freight Vine podcast, talking to Tim Gagnon and Mark Albrecht from CH Robinson. After that, the next edition of the Freight Vine podcast will have myself and Ken Adamo doing our end-of-year wrap-up. We'll be making our predictions. Can't wait for that one. I think you'll find that my prediction for this year came in the closest in terms of where I thought rates would be. Next week, Patrick Pretorius was going to be on our show talking about the shipping market. With that, another show is in the books. Make sure you set up alerts, subscribe to our channel. Be safe, be nice to everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll be back here again at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for watching, everyone.